What up, though? This is Knockouts and Three Counts. But before we bring you another episode of Podcast Gold, let me tell you about the homies over at Michigan's Finest. Do you ever find yourself trying to get yourself together and thinking, man, this is going to be a great night, but I'm looking for that little extra something? Well, check out our friends at Michigan Finest. If you are into medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, concentrates, vapes, anything of that sort, Michigan's Finest has got you covered. And as you can see here, it's all easily done by their website. It's all curbside, and you'll be in and out in 2 minutes. And they're family owned and operated, so customer service is their number one goal. And now, since they are rocking with Knockouts and Three Counts, use the code KO3MF. Yes, that's KO3MF. You get 10% off your entire order, but that does exclude featured items and items that are already on sale. But if you use that code, you're getting 10% off your items, and I promise you, either if you're looking for that big knockout or you're ready to hit the sheets for that 3 count, Michigan's Finest will get you together. Tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you, and I promise you, you're going to be having a great night. Peace.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts. We got a new world champion.
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby. It's the real deal, baby.
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though? It isn't Tuesday, it isn't Thursday, it is a Wednesday, but this is Knockouts and 3 Counts, and this is take 2 with the Duke, John Wayne Murdoch. How you doing, brother, man? We appreciate you joining us.
I'm good. Again, I apologize before the show. I apologize on air. I had to cancel the first time. That's on me. But here we are. We got it done the second time.
Hell yeah, like we said before we hit the button, man, life does its thing. You know, as anybody that follows the shows knows, I'm always slinging the mail and having to deal with the bullshit that goes over that way. So I get you. But we're all going to have a hell of a weekend, if I could spit it out, this weekend at RPW Deathrite. So first of all, how you feeling about coming back to Detroit, being that it's fucking cold as shit over here?
Yeah, not looking forward to that, but yeah, looking forward to coming to RPW again. I love being at RPW. It's fun. There's no bullshit. There's never any drama. Yeah, it's fun. Other than the stabbing that happened that one time.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, what an experience that was.
I thought nobody would ever bring it up. But
dude, can you please just tell me what your remembrance of that was? Because I've never said shit about it because I didn't think anybody else was, but holy hell was that nuts.
So my experience was like my music's playing. It's right before me and Eric Ryan do our Taipei Death. This is the end of the show. And like somebody just runs in and it's like screaming, someone's been stabbed. So I run out and like just walk up on this dude laying there holding his belly, just bleeding to death pretty much. So yeah, it was definitely shocking and an experience. Yeah.
Dude, that was gnarly as hell because I was literally walking out as this whole thing happens, and I walk and like, I mean, dude, all of us are old enough to know when you can tell like a fight's about to happen because I heard 2 people chirping at each other, and I'm like, okay, so they're gonna throw hands, and you know, it's whatever. Next thing you know, I'm over here like, what the fuck happened? Like, and I look to my left, and I'm like, damn, this dude is leaking, and I just looked, and I'm like, yep, it's time to go. So I'm glad the guy made it out of there all right. But damn, we were in the sticks too. That was the other thing I was worried about. I'm like, damn, I hope they can get the ambulance back here.
Yeah. Then I'm like, well, man, I hope they don't try to search all of us. I ain't trying to go to jail for anything stupid.
Yeah. How would you explain yourself? You're sitting there with fucking barbed wire, you're about to have a death match and all this shit. They're like, what do you want me to do? This is what I do.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm standing out there with glass taped to my fist, bloody. I'm like, oh, this doesn't look great. I'm the one that walked. Yeah, I thought I was going to have to testify and shit, but none of that ever came to fruition, so that's good.
Yeah,
That's
man.
definitely good. That's definitely what I would qualify as good as well.
What a wild
Other
night.
than that, though, that was a badass show, except for the fact that J-Bone is still a punk ass and hasn't done his shoey with Joel Bateman.
Look at,
I'm
gonna say
just
this every
saying.
time. I'm gonna say this every time. Somebody's got to get this guy the right weed because he's just so
Bro,
damn
you had your chance.
The
You had your
marijuana-
chance,
Wait a minute.
and
Actually,
you
know what?
didn't do it.
If my cousin is listening, he actually has video proof of this. I meant to send this to you. We did everything we could. Sometimes things just don't work out. But guess what? We're gonna do a shoey one day. One day it's gonna come to light and it's gonna all be good. We might even do
He's scared.
a tequila shoey is what I think we need to do.
Fuck you. I ain't doing that. I said I'd do a shoey.
Come on, man. Come on.
But enough about shoeys because that was pretty nasty. But I was a man of my word, and I lost the bet. But it's funny we're talking about bets because said bet was Joel Bateman and Tommy Vendetta going at it, and that's going to be your opponent this Saturday at Ruthless Pro Wrestling. Jesus Christ, Deathrite this weekend. So tell me about your thoughts on facing Vendetta. I know you guys have been around each other more than once, and how you feeling going into this weekend?
I feel great. I love everything about what Tommy's doing. I think he is the perfect example of what a deathmatch wrestler, what a pro wrestler should be, and not even just death matches, but he excels at death matches, and I think he will get more of a name, and his name will get out there faster, doing more. But yeah, I love everything that he's doing. I enjoy anytime I can be in the ring with him because he is the future. He is what we're all doing this for. When I'm no longer doing this and Tremont's no longer doing this, like there'll be guys like Tommy Vendetta still, and that's good to know.
It's a hell of a stamp of approval for Tommy, man. That's what's up.
Hey, man, I can't agree more because that guy, I've watched him come in when I first started seeing him at BCWA to see him where he's at now, going full blown with like the deathmatch stuff and all that. But something you said in there raises a question that I've had for you. I've seen a lot of your work both in deathmatch stuff and just straight up wrestling. What is it that attracted you to go in full blown with like the deathmatch style? And are you happy with being known for the deathmatch stuff, or do you want people to know like you can do everything?
No, I'm definitely one of those guys that's definitely happy being pigeonholed. Like if you want to stick me in just death matches, that's fine with me because like there's such a loyal fan base to death matches. Like I don't feel like I'm disloyal by doing regular matches, but I feel like if I can give 100% to just death matches, that's cool too. And that's what I'm doing.
Well, Corey, I know GCW was something that you got your first taste of death matches and things like that at. What are your thoughts as we're going into Ruthless Pro, and what are you thinking about this matchup with the Duke and Tommy Vendetta?
Well, it's always good to see Tommy Vendetta make his appearance on some of these bigger shows, the local talent making his way up, as you guys had already kind of mentioned. And the deathmatch scene, I mean, we've noted on it or talked upon it, I guess, many times here on the show that, I jumped in the show for the unfamiliar, I guess you could say. I jumped in the show as the MMA side, where that's where my fandom lies. It still is where my fandom lies, but going to a lot of these wrestling events and stuff, there's definitely a different feeling in the air and stuff when these death matches, even when you're seeing the setup get laid into the ring where there's just tubes and glass plates and the whole gamut of accessories that they drag into the ring right as the match is getting set up and everything. It's definitely a different aura for the match. So definitely excited going into this weekend for it. But other than that, yeah, I mean, death matches are always an added touch. It's like a cherry on top of the event, I feel like.
Very bloody one, but yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, J-Bone, what do you got for the Duke, man? I know you had a lot of things that you wanted to go into with Mr. Murdoch. What you got?
Dude, I've been watching, the classic stuff, the best stuff, man. You've done it all. You've fought the who's who in deathmatch wrestling, man. But I want to know, because everybody's putting these lists together, and the top 30 deathmatch wrestlers in the world and all that, you have consistently been in the top 5 of every single list that I've seen. So what does that mean to you as a deathmatch wrestler, somebody who uses this as an art form, to be consistently in the top, in everybody's top 5?
It means a lot. Just keeping, it's a lot of work. A lot of people ask why I do this every weekend or why I choose to do multiple death matches. It's because you've got to stay relevant. Like one weekend, Neil Diamond Cutter could have a really great death matches, and everybody's saying that Neil's #1 death match wrestler right now, and he's hot and all this. But then the next weekend, Alex Colon could have that match, and then he's #1. So it's always changing. But if you're constantly wrestling, you're constantly doing death matches, you're constantly having matches to compare to, you're always going to be in that top 5. And that's the goal, is always be in people's minds. Always be like, oh man, John Wayne Murdoch's wrestling this weekend, that week, and we can always catch him. We can always see him do a death match. So yeah, it's just consistency and just staying in people's minds, because everybody's opinions is always changing.
That's basically every sport nowadays, man. Consistency. If you're not in the people's heads, people are so quick to forget about stuff, man. I mean, like you say, one week they'll be saying you're the best, you're their favorite, and the next week they'll just completely forget that you even exist unless you stay relevant in their mind one way or another. So.
Oh yeah, and it sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck that it's that way, but it's definitely demanding. I'm definitely beat up beyond belief, and surprised that I'm even still going. Like there's matches that I'm like, this is it. Like this is probably the last match, and then or my last death match, and then you get done with that, and you're like, oh, okay, well that's not my last one. But I wouldn't say I'm on borrowed time, but definitely like 3 months from now, I could not be doing this anymore, or 3 years from now, I could still be doing it. Like, it's day by day, I think, at this point.
That's an interesting thought process going into it, especially how you had noted and how J-Bone had just mentioned that, the top 5 in everybody's mind and stuff like that. To keep that type of consistency and stuff and keep that type of schedule that you were talking about and stuff, that does take a lot of work. And when you're talking death matches, there's nothing easy in that game, right? So to your point, I could definitely see how you say, like, the timetable's so up in the air, right? It could literally, to your point, it could be a week from now, I just don't like the way that this match goes. I injure myself and something, or to your point, you could continue to be one of the most successful deathmatch wrestlers for years and years to come. It just all depends on how the landscape plays out, right?
Yep, that's it. You never know. Like, never know what hell. Like, we could be talking right now, and Tommy could be my last death match. You never know. And I think that's exciting to a point. I think that's the thrill of it. Just going out there, and there's just so much that you can't control, and it's sort of comforting. It weirdly enough, it's comforting being in that environment and having all the glass, and there's just so much that could go wrong, but you're still walking through it, and you're getting, it's crazy. I can't describe the feeling of like actually being like 20 minutes into a death match and just, it's crazy.
Well, that brings up something that I wanted to talk about as well. As many people know, before you went into the Nick Gage Invitational, you had to step away for a little minute because you had gotten hurt. What happened, and how are you feeling now? Do you feel 100% from being hurt with it, or is it one of those things where, like you said, just kind of walking through it because you were just successful with the Nick Gage Invitational and all those things, but it was something that was noted with you and Cologne being the tag champs for GCW at the time?
Yeah, I definitely think I've been hurt for a while now. I think just my elbows got worse. I know leading into the GCW England tour, I was really banged up there. My elbows got worse. Then going to Japan and just how physically demanding that was, and the matches there, and the ring is just like they poured concrete, and that's what you're wrestling. so I really got hurt there. Worse because I was protecting myself because my elbows were messed up. And anytime you protect something, you're leaving something else open to get hurt. I caught a knee in the ribs from Takeda, and I thought I broke my ribs. It was just massive. Like I could not breathe. Like the flight home was horrible. So then, yeah, I missed the AC shows. I did not go to Australia for ICW, just because I just had to heal. My ribs were messed up. On top, I needed to get on antibiotics to fix my elbows, to get the swelling and just how infected they were. Because once you bust your bursa sac, all that fluid, I've got thumbtacks, gussets constantly stabbing me everywhere. So that fluid then gets infected. Then it's a whole different mess. I had to get on antibiotics, fix that. But yeah, I'm still banged up. My elbows will probably never be right. I had surgery on one, didn't fix it. They're still messed up. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever go into a match 100%. I just don't think that's possible.
Yeah, I seen the look that you rock in the ring with the sleeves and the pads and stuff, and I assumed most of that had to do with the glass and stuff. But with the elbows, I could assume that being a little bit of compression probably helps with the elbow.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Because they're just two eggs on the end of my elbow. Like I don't even have points anymore to my elbows. They're just flat, swollen. Yeah, they're horrible.
Yeah.
Hey, man, just
match wrestling, right?
Yeah, you ain't kidding. Well, that brings up something else I wanted to ask you about. Primarily we see you doing your thing in the ring, by yourself. But, we saw you teaming with Alex Colon. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what are your thoughts on it? And how'd you like being tag champs over there in GCW, man? Because you guys were fucking killing it just here at Harpo's recently.
Oh yeah, a year ago, if you'd have told me that me and Cologne would be tag partners or tag champions, I'd be like, "Oh, you're fucking crazy." But no, I have grown so much respect for Alex Cologne since tagging with him, getting to know him more, spending time in hotel rooms, just talking, like shooting the shit and everything like that. Like we talk about our families and stuff like that. Like Cologne is so misunderstood. I think he comes off as bitter or aggressive or an asshole. And I think he just really cares about what he does. And when he talks about it, it just comes out with so much passion that it's a lot of times misunderstood. No, I can't say there's not enough good things I can say about Cologne, for real.
That's somebody as well, similar to yourself, that every time he goes into these death matches, man, he really lays it all out there. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. And he takes so much to heart. Like he really wants to have the perfect death match every time he goes out there, and that's hard. And it's almost like you almost can't do it. And he puts that pressure on himself every time. And sometimes if it doesn't go well, it eats at him, or if he feels like it doesn't go well, even though to the fans and to the other guys, like, yo, that was a really good death match. Like to him, like he puts that much stress on himself. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, chasing the proverbial dragon, right?
Yeah.
Always trying to get to the tail, but always seeking the best performance. But if you're not feeling that for yourself, man, that's a tough thing to get over. That's for sure.
What a crazy dynamic that is, though. Like two badass dudes in the deathmatch scene, Cologne and the Duke, man, just coming together like that. That's two dudes you don't want to see in a fucking back alley. That's for sure. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck all that.
It's definitely two different guys with two different, like we have two different thoughts on, I wouldn't say two different thoughts, but two different ways of going out there and doing death matches. He is definitely athletic as fuck. He can go out there, he can high fly, he can dive, he can do all this stuff, and then he puts the weapons on top of that. This point where I'm at, I'm very beat, and again, I wrestle beat up a lot of the times. So if I can take a more of a necro approach to death matches and sort of be the stabby guy right now, I'm going to do that. Even though I can do moves, I do have psychology to my death matches and all that. I'm not going to go out there and give you 20 minutes of high spots because I physically can't do it. My hips are fucked up. I limp half the time. So like we have two different approaches, but we still are world-class deathmatch wrestlers that still respect this, have the respect from others, and respect each other.
No,
Donald, I see you in the comments. I've seen the Duke and Reed Bentley as well, man. That's another badass tag team you were a part of, man.
Oh yeah, I love Reed. It's just unfortunately Reed has a really good out of wrestling life. He's got a really good job, stuff like that, and sometimes that takes him away from throwing everything he can into wrestling. But hopefully, his schedule eases up and he can come back and we can definitely tag more.
All right. Well, Piss Jug has got a question that could have a pretty cool answer to it. So he said, who is one person you've not had the opportunity to have a death match with who you've wished you could? Necro from early 2000s would have been amazing.
Yeah. I would say Drake Younger. I definitely could see the money on that. Unfortunately, there's things that like I wouldn't want to get into or be surrounded by doing that match. But yeah, I could see that match making money for sure. So I like Drake Younger was always the goal because I did IWA Mid-South. I did all that. Like I was everywhere that like Drake had his name. So that match would have been money. Like I said, there's just things that that I don't want to get into that just make that match awkward if it happened now.
Totally makes sense. With that being said, another thing I wanted to talk to you about and give you a little bit of congratulations on, man. We know you just won the Nick Gage Invitational. Tell me a little what your thoughts are on that. I mean, I know it's not the first time you've won it. What are your thoughts on getting the dub though in this one that just happened?
Yeah, this was great because it was wrapping up a year long story. Like the last NGI I wasn't a part of, come through the back door, jumped Cologne at the end to start our stuff. So I think coming back this year, actually being a part of the tournament, and it coming down to me and Cologne was a fitting end. I've always loved Nick Gage ever since meeting him at King of Death and having that 45-minute to an hour death match that we had. Like me and Nick have always been tight. He has been one of my biggest supporters, from giving me advice to pretty much chewing me out in the middle of a locker room of how I let some promoters treat me or that I needed to do better as far as like getting my money or expecting this and that how good I was and stuff like that. Like Gage has always been that guy for me. So yeah, winning that tournament, being associated to him, like that meant everything.
Dude, that's saying something because that's to win that tournament and like you said, and to have it come down to you in Cologne. I mean, you couldn't have wrote a better story for it, but that seems to be like the prevailing thing that you hear a lot when you hear people talk about Nick Gage is just the loyalty that he's got for those that are around him. With that being said, as we head into Thanksgiving tomorrow, I don't know about y'all, but my fat ass is ready to eat. I'm just saying I'm ready to eat some food. So, Piss Jug coming in here with all the great questions today. He wants to know in the Duke household, he wants to know who's the cooker. Are you throwing down on a grill for Thanksgiving or what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving?
Oh yeah.
And what are you looking forward most to smashing?
Oh, I'm doing the ham. I do all that. Yeah, I'm the cook. Unfortunately, May couldn't tell you when a pizza was done in the oven, throwing it in. So I do the cooking. So yeah, doing the ham. We don't do turkey, we do ham. So others do both or turkey or whatever. But yeah, I cook a good ham.
You got over the bird, huh?
Yeah.
Look, all I'm going to say is I'm not mad at it because I like ham better than turkey myself too, so fucking sue me. But
it seems to be a pretty common theme nowadays. It seems to be a lot of people are getting rid of the turkey and just having a ham for Thanksgiving.
I don't know, man. I love turkey on Thanksgiving.
we're gonna still
You
have
ever had a
turkey, but I'm
deep-fried
just saying I
turkey?
like the ham better.
You ever had a deep fried turkey? This shit's amazing.
Yeah,
Come
it is
on.
pretty damn bomb.
Come on,
I'm a
man.
turkey guy myself. That's why it'll be a sad day when all the turkeys stop showing up at Thanksgiving. But it seems to be a common theme, man. I keep like even at Joseph's the other day, there wasn't a turkey. There was 2 fucking hams though. You know?
You're not wrong, and they fucked those hams up too. Dude, you ain't kidding. Damn, that just totally threw me off. But with that being said, we cover MMA as well on this show. If for any of you guys who are of the MMA ilk, make sure you check out the interview that just dropped with Catherine Koraginas before she goes and fights at Madison Square Garden this Friday for PFL. But does the Duke get down with MMA?
A little bit. I'm not a big fan. I don't go out of my way to watch, but I respect it. I think that it's definitely its own art form, and they get paid well. I do not get paid well enough to go actually get punched in the fucking mouth. So, I respect the fuck out of those guys. And, I think they would respect the fuck out of the deathmatch guys, even though they're like, there's not enough money. You could pay me to go roll in broken glass. But, yeah, I respect that. If you're all about that and you're fucking willing to go out there and fucking really, the shit we do is physical. And it fucking needs to be respected. But anybody that puts themselves on the level of somebody that fights in fucking UFC or does that shit is fucking out of their minds.
I love to hear that from somebody coming from the deathmatch scene too, because I have never stepped in a wrestling ring and have the utmost respect for anybody who does so. On the other hand, whether you call it smart or not, I have stepped in a boxing ring. I have stepped on a jiu-jitsu mat. I have stepped on a bunch of those things. And it is a whole nother motherfucker. But it's funny with MMA, Corey saying it already earlier in the show, how he comes from the MMA ilk of things. I mean, Corey, you couldn't have been further out from pro wrestling when you came onto the show.
Right.
I mean, being around death matches and all those things. So Duke, just for a little background for you. So Corey got his crash course into wrestling all in one weekend because I took him to Chicago. We went to GCW War Games, and then we went to All Out that weekend, all in the weekend when Punk came back. And so he got a crash course in wrestling. But my question for you, Corey, is now that you've been around it a little more, what would you say to another MMA fan if you were trying to explain, why deathmatch wrestling is appealing or pro wrestling as a whole? Because I've seen you have a whole new respect for wrestling after being the diehard MMA guy.
Yeah, it's to what you were just saying there a minute ago, right? Even if it's not your cup of tea or however you want to word it, right? If you actually see it, especially in person and up close, there's no not respecting what these guys are putting themselves through. There's a lot of violence, especially in these death matches. And to what you were saying before, even the regular matches, when you see a lot of these guys with their high flying moves and stuff like that, there's definitely some, how do I word that right? They're laying a lot on the line, and it also takes a good amount of technique that they've practiced throughout the years to get it to that level where they feel confident doing it in front of a crowd at that level. You know what I mean? So it's definitely, I to your point, Kyle, I definitely have gained a whole new respect for the wrestling world. To compare it to the MMA side, like you say, it is just a respect thing, really. That to me, that's what it's boiled down to, is seeing the way that these guys take it so serious. Talking to Uncle Chase all the time, right? Seeing how he's made his rise in the last couple of years and stuff. He takes that super serious. That is a for real life accomplishment for him to be on the rise in his wrestling career. So there is no gimmick behind it. These guys take it as serious as possible, and to see where a lot of these guys are able to take themselves is, like I say, it's impressive.
All right. With all that being said, I got a couple last questions for you, and we'll let you out of here. And this is going to be a good question for you because you know your matches better than anybody else. What do you think is the gnarliest match the Duke's ever been a part of, and why?
Man, that's a hard one. I gotta say, like I always say it's a common answer for me, but it's got to be me and Nick Gage from King of Death, like going almost an hour in the semifinals of a death match tournament. I had 4 total that weekend. Like that was brutal.
4 in a
And
weekend.
it wasn't just Nick Gage. It was Nick Gage fresh out of prison, which was a whole different animal than the one we see now.
That's funny.
I mean, you got to imagine he's coming out swinging, so I could totally respect that. You know, now Nick's had a little bit of time out, kind of calmed down a little bit, but damn, better have your hands up in that one. But Piss Jug's coming in with other good questions and leading into our last segment, which we call Locker Room Etiquette, which we'll get to in a second. He asks, do you got any good road stories, and who's your favorite traveling partner?
I'd say my favorite traveling partner. I don't really know because I sleep so much that it doesn't really matter.
I respect that.
I stay awake. There's just something about being in a car that I fall asleep instantly. But my favorite road story that I can tell on air without other people's without them knowing that I'm telling it. My favorite road story would be we're all asleep. Cologne's driving. I think we're headed to a GCW show or whatever. It was a while ago. Before even I come back. So it was during my last GCW run. But we're headed somewhere. We're all asleep, and we wake up and realize that not only have we been asleep, but Cologne that's driving has been asleep as well.
Oh, shit.
And that we're up on a median concrete slab sideways. He's like rode up one half of the car, and we're now like sideways going down the interstate, almost flipped over. And we fix it. He gets off the median or whatever, and we pull over. But yeah, like going sideways down the interstate on the shoulder was probably pretty exciting for other drivers. But what makes this funny is Cologne, like how he handled it. He just like pulled over and we're all silent. He's like, sorry guys, I was asleep, and just keeps on going. Like nothing fucking like
nothing even happened.
But yeah, we're all wide awake at this point. We finished the trip, but yeah, that was fun.
Hey, guy's a deathmatch wrestler. You ain't gonna phase him.
Yeah,
it ain't shit.
That's like the second crazy on the side of the road story we've had, because for anybody who's been following the show for a minute, Jake Chris telling us about how he ran out in the middle of the road to go save this dude from a burning car. Like shit, man, that's becoming like a theme of like shit going down on the side of the road on these trips from town to town, man.
I also have a bad luck of being arrested on the road. Like I've had 2 weed charges that I've been arrested for before shows. Oof. And I'd go, they take the picture, I'm held for like 45 minutes and they let me go. And I've made the show both times, thank God. The last one was July 4th, the ICW show where I wrestled Gage on a surprise. He come out and we did a match on the fly for the audience. I was arrested earlier that day and got out. I was like, look, I got to wrestle Gage. You guys got to let me the fuck out of here. Good.
Listen, I got to go.
I got to go.
Dude,
that's great.
Hopefully we can see a day where weed charges aren't something that's getting everybody in trouble, because I mean it's becoming legal in more and more states. But
yeah, it's been a long time ago. And they both were in Jersey and everything.
Of course it was.
Happened they got dropped because I was paying the fine and then they legalized it or whatever, and I stopped paying the fine and I've been good, so everything's good.
Hell yeah. Well, that's a perfect way to go into our final segment, which we call locker room etiquette. Now, obviously, most of the time you would think that that's like trying to pick for anything and all that, but we go the exact opposite of that. We talk about anything from pet peeves or any advice you'd give a young dude coming into the locker room. We've gotten everything from wash your balls, keep your baby mama out the locker room. Silas Young talking about, don't get too comfortable. Ninja Mac talking about don't get lazy and don't stop training. We've had all kinds of different ones. So if the Duke could add anything to that list, what would it be?
Man, I think you've covered them. Definitely wash your gear. Wash yourself. I would say be on time. Like if there's a call time, like that promoter wants you there for, like, be there. I think, making sure that the veteran of that locker room is comfortable and doesn't need anything. I don't mean kiss ass. You don't have to kiss nobody's ass. You don't have to tie nobody's boots or anything like that. But, like, make sure the vets have that water, know where the water is. Like, if they're new to this building, fucking help them out. Show them where shit's at. Like, just make somebody feel welcome. That's anybody to a new locker room. Just make somebody feel welcome. Also, like, if you're new to a locker room or you don't know the dynamic, I would say don't be loud. Don't be abrasive. Like, I get that might be some people's personalities or something like that, but, like, be respectful. Work yourself into the dynamic of that locker room instead of just trying to overrun it or be loud or seek attention, because a lot of these locker rooms, these guys travel together. If you're coming into a GCW locker room, like, these guys, like, we've all fucking been to England or Japan or spent like a week together. Like, we all have our fucking, we're a family pretty much. So, like, coming in, just like be respectful, like, know the dynamic of a locker room and, don't say racist shit. Don't be fucking homophobic, Yeah, that's all I got.
I mean, you talk about us having it covered. I mean, I think you might have just given one of the best answers we've had thus far. So, I mean, like I said, I have enjoyed this one. I am looking forward to RPW Deathrite. But for anybody who's on the fence, if you've got any last words for Tommy Vendetta or anybody on the fence about getting a ticket, what can we look forward to this Saturday at RPW Deathrite?
Crazy. You never know what's going to happen at a fucking RPW show. We talked about that at the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what's going to happen. It's crazy. Chris puts on a great fucking show. Not only pro wrestling, you're going to see everything. You're going to see women get down. You're going to see fucking tag matches. You're going to see actual pro wrestling. And then some of the best deathmatch wrestling around. I'm looking forward to me and Tommy Vendetta. I think, well, there might be some surprises to this show. So, yeah, I think you definitely are cheating yourself if you don't check this show out.
I mean, that puts the stamp on it. I know Knockouts and 3 Counts is going to be in the building. Like the Duke said, make sure you get those tickets. Check out the homies from Ruthless Pro. I mean, it's almost tax season. And if you get with our sponsors over there at G3 Payroll and Tax, they're going to get your money right. I know you're mailing them out already. So do yourself a favor. Get with the homies at G3. Get you a ticket to RPW. And until next time, and in the in-between time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, share it, let a friend know, and make sure if you're at RPW, come say what up, no. Until the next time, peace.